Dan and Amy, we are coming to you live this morning from Mid-States Glass and Metal in scenic Niles, Illinois.
I love Niles.
I love Niles.
I know. No, my grandparents lived right around the corner here in Bunker Hill.
It's part of the
nice.
Swedish mafia up here
Yeah.
in Niles.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
This, of course, part of our AM 560 Signature Bank business tour, and we've been talking about Tangerine Jesus killing that speech all morning.
But the thing is, he's not Tangerine Jesus anymore because he darkened his hair. Took a
not his skin though.
Well, I thought his skin looked a little more tan, less orange. Okay, so Tangerine Jesus takes a back seat.
Let me give a hat tip to Tony from the South Side. I like to give credit where credit's due. That's his phrase. We've just appropriated it.
Okay.
And here's the thing that's interesting. We'll talk more about his address, but there's actually an opportunity for Illinois to contribute at the federal level rather than just be a suck like it is at the state,
money. We don't give
local
funds.
level, and the federal level. Rather, an opportunity for Illinois to do something productive for the country after all of the destruction we have visited upon the country. And it relates to the case of Janus v. AFSCME, which was filed in 2015 and is going to be heard by the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, oral arguments today at 9:30. You remember the case of Fredericks v. California? This was the case that challenged the fair share union regulation and was going to be heard by the Supreme Court. And it was going to overturn fair share. The Supreme Court was likely to overturn fair share had Antonin Scalia not died. After his passing, the court deadlocked on the issue 4-4.
Kicks it back to the lower court.
Right, that decision stands, so the case went away. So this is essentially revisiting that same issue, but the plaintiff is an Illinois worker, Illinois state worker. His name is Mark Janus, and he joins us now. Mark, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Hi, Mark.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. So explain why you have pursued this case and your disposition as a member of AFSCME, the largest state workers union in Illinois, that is threatening a strike, and here you are threatening their very existence to a certain extent.
Well, I really can't say that I'm threatening their entire existence, but I can tell you that there is the indistinguishable argument that AFSCME and government are that AFSCME lobbies, and as a state worker and a compelled forced rider to pay their fair share fees. I don't agree with many of the things that AFSCME is doing, in a lot of their lobbying, and what they're trying to do to the state of Illinois currently.
And just to set a baseline here, fair share, you have to pay union dues even if you disagree with how they're spending money, as you're describing, as a condition of keeping your job, and that's the issue.
Correct. Yes. When I joined became an employee, I was forced to pay these fair share fees. Nobody asked me. I wasn't given any advance notice. I guess you could say my notice was that when I looked at my first paycheck, and here were these union dues or fair share, being taken out of my check.
So what's your backstory? How long have you been paying union dues, and then you just decided, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to pay. Because a lot of us have been in unions, and we don't really want to pay our union dues.
Yeah, it's been roughly about 10 years. So I've got several $1,000s that I've paid to the union over that time frame.
And AFSCME would argue, as they have previously, and all the public sector unions argue here, well, we represent your interests even if you would prefer we don't. So you receive benefits from us because we negotiate these collective bargaining agreements that gets you salary increases and health insurance coverage and pension benefits and all the like. And so what's the response to that?
Well, yeah, that's what they say. But again, I go back to the argument that it's a forced, agreement. It's a forced condition of employment. And again, I also say that because of my First Amendment rights, I don't agree with what they're saying. And it's an area that I think if I was given the opportunity, I could probably bargain my own contract, with the state, that's reasonable. And because I've done it before in other positions that I had before I joined the state, so I can't say that I wouldn't be able to do it, from that standpoint anyway.
And Governor Ronner, I mean, he's met with AFSCME officials 67 times. You guys voted for a strike vote. Ronner, I guess, is secretly getting people ready to take your jobs. Is anybody there, any of your coworkers, or are you concerned or scared that you might be replaced? You might be like air traffic controlled out of your jobs?
Or will you cross the picket line if they strike?
Well, yeah, I would definitely cross the picket line, and definitely. And of course, I did not vote, in because I'm only a fair share, what they call a fair share employee. So I don't have the right to vote on that. If I had the ability, I would have voted against it. I would have voted against the strike.
Give us a sense of what your conversations are with fellow state workers and AFSCME members, full-fledged or just fair share in your case, about the state of the state, about the role of public sector unions in terms of where Illinois finds itself.
Well, I think a lot of the state employees are concerned, because number one, the budget issue, which is has been going on. Number two, they're concerned about the fact that we have this ongoing dispute of AFSCME versus the state of Illinois in their bargaining, and you also have some of them that have told me that they have gone to union meetings and they have tried to say to union leadership, we don't necessarily need a raise, we'd like to have a raise, but we understand under the conditions that the budget is precarious and so on, and the state is precarious, and so let's just kind of go with the status quo. But the union has continued to go forward with trying to get additional benefits, raises, steps, and a variety of things.
Yeah, and that's
which
despite
kind of goes against what the union, some of the rank and file are telling them.
Well, right,
ignoring the rank and file.
Right, and that's despite the fact that Ronner has successfully negotiated 20 different collective bargaining agreements, all that included a wage freeze with other smaller groups of state workers represented by other unions. So that's sort of telling, in addition to AFSCME, Roberta Lynch's disingenuous position that, we just want to get back to the negotiating table. They've been at it for months and months and months, some 6 meetings, some 200 proposals back and forth. Those are just show meetings, so she can go back to the rank and file and tell them how much she's fighting for them. And what I'm hearing you say is that perhaps that's starting to penetrate, and maybe even within the union you could have a rank and file uprising. Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, I don't know if you necessarily have an uprising, but I definitely think there's some union members that are not happy with the way the negotiations have gone. They're not happy with the position that Lynch has taken and her negotiators, and but yet because of a variety of reasons, they don't quite know what to do from the standpoint, and of course they had this overwhelming, I believe the media said it was like an 80% yes vote. I'd sure like to know where those yes votes came from, and I would sure like to know if they were audited, and who actually did it. Was that an outside group that counted those ballots independently? Let's hope they didn't use the same people that did the Oscars. But,
have you suffered any blowback within your employee circle, your colleague circle, for being a litigant in this case?
No, not really. Of course, I've kind of kept this low key.
Well, this is keeping it low key. Well, has anybody wanted to join you in your fight?
I've had some people that have given me support, but not willing to join. Fellow workers. I have, that said, boy, I really appreciate what you're doing, but for their own reasons, they just don't feel like they can, add their name to at the top of the lawsuit.
And Mark, you work in what capacity for the state?
I'm a child support specialist in healthcare and family services.
Okay. Well, good luck today. Are
Yeah,
you nervous?
Well, he's
thank
he's
you
not
very
making
much.
the oral
Well, I know
argument.
he's not arguing. Well, his attorney is on behalf of him, but still, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's the story too. So you've got a conscientious state worker that provides an important service that the state provides to help children and families, and he's stepping up when he should step up, providing leadership. Anybody can do it. It just takes a little courage, and I certainly respect Mark Janus's courage. And Mark, thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate
Well,
it.
you're more than welcome.
Good luck with the case, and that will not just benefit Mark Janus. That has major state and national implications. This is a case you should be watching. Janus v. AFSCME. Regardless of the Seventh Circuit decision, it's likely to be appealed by whoever loses and go to the Supreme Court. And Neil Gorsuch can't get seated quickly enough.
Thanks, Mark Janus, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.